Kamala Harris revealed a new recipe that will make you want to vomit. I'm on the verge of gagging just thinking about it. Tim Walz dodged an easy question from the press, just like he dodged taking care of his state in the middle of the George Floyd riots of 2020, and Kamala Harris is auditioning new accents on the campaign trail. We'll get to all of that and much more in today's video, but first we turn to Detroit, where Kamala Harris failed to fill up a gymnasium, a high school gymnasium. Just take a look at all of these empty seats. Now, keep in mind that we are only 64 days out from the general election. She can't even fill all the seats in this high school gymnasium. This is a rally for union members in Michigan, and we all know, based on her previous rallies, that she's bussed in union members. So even with bussing them in, you see all these empty seats, all that empty space on the floor. Compare that to former President Donald Trump, who, in the middle of deep blue New York City, which is pretty much as liberal as it gets, with the exception of, like, I don't know, Washington, D.C. and San Francisco, was able to pull this crowd of union workers organically. This was in the middle of his trial in New York City. Look at all these union workers filling the streets. Again, totally organic. They didn't have to be bussed in. This wasn't an official campaign event. Much more energy, much more organic support for President Trump compared to Kamala Harris. Now, during this rally, Kamala brought out multiple accents that she, auditioned in front of the crowd. This isn't the first time she's done this, but it's funny that whenever she goes to areas that are quote-unquote more urban, she pulls out this fake accent that she doesn't usually talk with. Here's what she sounded like.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time. Because what we know...
I mean, come on, we all know that that's not what she actually sounds like. And don't forget, she was raised in both California and Canada, and I don't know about you, but I've never met someone from Canada or from California who actually talks like that. And speaking of how she was raised, don't forget, her father and her mother, they weren't blue-collar workers. These were highly educated people. Her dad, I believe, had a PhD, and he actually was a Marxist and taught her in Marxist philosophies. So that's why we shouldn't be surprised when she talks about price gouging or gauging, how she, talks about it like that. She is almost on the verge of not hiding that she's a socialist. Now, she also pulled out a slightly different accent, talking about how we're 64 days away from the general election, and of course, her signature laugh miraculously returned after it disappeared and hid in a hole during her CNN interview.
Let's just get through the next 64 days. How about that?
Totally convincing, yeah. Well, Kamala Harris, as if that Detroit rally wasn't embarrassing enough from her fake accents to the empty space all over the gymnasium floor. And I would like to point out, notice there were a ton of tables, right? Round tables covering the floor. So that took up a lot of space too. That, I think, was a political maneuver, I'll give her team kudos. That was a great ploy to make it look like it was more filled than it actually was, because those tables took up so much space. But if you remove the tables, man, that auditorium would have been empty. Well, she's revealed this new recipe of how she makes collard greens, and I'm sorry, it's a little gag-inducing. Listen to this.
Right, Marlon, so I know how to make a mean pot of greens. In fact, people used to ask me to make greens for them for Christmas. One year, I had so many that I had to wash that we ended up washing them in the bathtub. So I am not playing around. So what you got?
Well, apparently it wasn't just 1 year. She, according to her, does this multiple years for this Christmas party for a friend. And to me, that's really gross. Washing collard greens in a bathtub, washing your food in the same place where you wash your stinky spider web, really gross. According to the Washington Post, fungi and mold can also grow in these perpetually moist environments. About 10% of the bacteria you find in bathtubs comes from fecal matter. Again, your stinky spider web. And it can get dried into the bathtub ring. And it's not just the fecal matter, it's the fact that soap residue and all these other cleaning chemicals, they attach onto the walls of the bathtub. And this is apparently where she washed food for a dinner party for her friends. total red flag. I mean, if you're not even gonna consider the safety of the people you're cooking for a party, how can you trust her to take care of the health of the rest of the nation? Now, here's a longer video of her explaining how she prepares her collard greens. And again, she refers to soaking them in a giant bathtub, which again is where she washes her stinky spider web.
I have a friend who had a Christmas party, Christmas Eve every year, and she asked me to make the greens for a party every year. And I am not lying to you that I would make so many greens that I'd need to wash them in the bathtub. I'm telling you the truth.
So how do you make your greens? Do you put turkey in them? Do you
Bacon.
Put nice. My grandma
I
used
do
to
bacon.
Put bacon. She's put
Garlic.
vinegar.
I put white vinegar.
Yes.
I do. So I start with, I slice up my garlic. Well, but no, first I chop up the bacon
fry it.
and get all that fat going. Then I put garlic,
Yeah.
some chili peppers,
Yes.
and then a lot of water and a little chicken stock, and I let it go for a while
Flowers.
before I put the greens in. And then, right, so you get that going and all that flavor, and then I put the greens in for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Then I do vinegar,
Yeah.
and then I cheat and do a little Tabasco.
No, that's okay.
Yeah,
My
but
grandmother-
Tabasco of all, like I like Louisiana hot sauce,
Yeah.
but Tabasco has that right amount of
The
vinegar.
tang
Yeah,
on it, yeah.
and that's how I do my greens.
I see why you get invited
Uh-huh.
every year.
A few things about this clip. Number one, I get that I've cooked collard greens a few times, and I get that they shrink whenever you cook them, right? It's sort of like spinach or most vegetables, with the exception of, like carrots or something. But they shrink. What size pot do you have to be able to fit a bathtub size worth of greens into them? I mean, is she making this in a cauldron over a fireplace? What is she using to cook these? That's point number one I would like to make. Point number two is she's barely taken any questions from the press, right? She did that one CNN interview, which was very softball, almost T-ball-like. The questions were queued up for her with multiple choice answers. You can't get any easier than that. And now she's spending her free time talking about recipes? Is she really this dense? Does she think that no one really is interested in what her actual policies are, what her agenda is, what vision she has for the country? It's almost like Joe Biden going to the ice cream shop and the reporters asking him, what flavor of ice cream are you eating? Or how was your bike ride today? Or how was the beach at your Delaware vacation home? I mean, it's just totally ridiculous. Now, Tim Walz, of course, there was breaking news this morning talking about the terrible hostage situation in Israel. An American died. And Tim Walz was asked about this. Again, just like the top of the ticket, I guess the bottom of the ticket, like top of the ticket. He's taking his cues from her. He ran away from the press, refused to answer this question, and it should have been an easy question to answer. This wasn't a gotcha question. It wasn't a question about policy. All he had to do was make a heartfelt comment, sending his condolences to the surviving family and friends of the victim. But instead, he chose to dodge the question, just like he dodged responsibility when he was the governor of Minnesota. Take a look at this.
How are you feeling? What's your reaction to the 6 hostages being found dead in Gaza?
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, just totally refused to answer that question. And as you can see, as what that video implies, he was engaging with people beforehand. He was having a great old time. And then the moment there was a question that had just a minuscule, tiny bit of substance to it, he ran away. Just like he did when during the George Floyd riots of 2020, didn't take any responsibility. And in fact, he insulted the National Guard. Remember, he said they were 19-year-old cooks and they wouldn't be able to do anything. But of course, we shouldn't be surprised because he is taking his lead from Kamala Harris. This video is also from earlier today. She stepped out of her limousine and, she had these headphones in and she essentially pretended to not hear the press shouting questions at her. She used the headphones as an excuse to totally ignore questions from the press. What was she listening to? Tupac's brand new 2024 album? If you get that joke, let me know in the comments below. Yeah, and look at her body language. She looks so distressed. And now was she holding the phone up to her ear when she had the headphones in? It's almost like, remember that staged phone call with Barack and Michelle, and she was on speakerphone, then she started holding it to her ear. I wonder how many takes it took them to do that. And don't forget the phone call with Tim Walz, the phone call he didn't expect, and just so happened to be recording, with another camera on the ground recording his unexpected phone call. I mean, everything these people do is staged. It's totally phony. Don't forget, just a few short weeks ago, she was the most unpopular vice president in history. And we're supposed to pretend that she's giving the nation joy and hope and that she's the vision for the future? Give me a break. But of course, all of this is just my analysis and my opinion, and I would love to know yours in the comments below. What do you think? Let's talk about, a lot of topics in today's video, but specifically about the collard greens recipe. What do you think about that? Do you think it's gross to wash your vegetables and your food in the bathtub? The same place where you wash your entire body and get rid of your sweat and germs and dead skin cells? Or have you done that? And if you have, I'm not judging you. We live in a free country. You can do what you want. Maybe it strengthens your immune system. But personally, I find that a little gross. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask, but it really does help me in the algorithm to reach more viewers like you. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.